In this video, we are going to be taking a look at the New York State Education Department Computer Science and Digital Fluency Standards for grades 7 and 8. On the bottom of your screen and in your slide deck, there is a link that will take you right out to the State Ed website, which will have all of the standards examples, and some good resource documents for you to really dive into these standards. In this video, we are going to be taking a look at impacts of computing. Impacts of computing is the first of the 5 concept areas. These standards can be taught in any order, so while you might be doing impacts of computing first, do not feel like this is the order in which you have to teach it. There are 4 sub-concept areas within impacts of computing that we'll be covering today in this video. The first one is society. Here we're taking a look at how our use of technology can change our culture and equity within a society. We're thinking about how communication, laws, our education, and even the way we work are impacted based on the technology that we have. The next sub-concept area is ethics. Here we're taking a look at both our users and our creators of technology to make sure that they are built with algorithms that don't have unintended impacts or any implicit bias built into it. The last 2 sub-concept areas are ones that have one standard each, but are pretty large as far as what they cover. The first one is accessibility. Here we're taking a look at the design and how accessible each technology can be for ourselves and our students and our society. And then finally, the last one is career paths. There is an incredible need for more students to go into computer science as a career. So we want to make sure that we're exposing our students to the opportunities that computer science offers them. On this page, you're going to see a lot of different links. The first link or the first QR code you see is going to take you out to the PDF of the examples that the state put together. These were educators across the state that met to design the lessons that they thought would work well to cover the standard. These are by no means the only things you can do, but it gives you an idea as what can cover the standards. The center one is a Wakelet collection of more resources beyond what this video will cover. And then the far right is going to bring you out to the activity books that we're going to dive into next. So you can click anywhere on this page to take you out to the activity books. Since we are doing grades 7 and 8, I'm going to go to the 7-8 book, which is the bluish purple one. We're going to click Read Now. And then we're going to click over to the first page and then click on Impacts of Computing. What this will do is we'll bring you to the section of the book that covers the concept area of impacts of computing and the 4 sub-concept areas that we just reviewed. Each book is set up the same way. You'll have the sub-concept area, the standard, and then inside the blue box will be the clarifying statement, and then below the clarifying statement will be the examples that the state put together on that separate PDF. If you want to look at the standards the way the state put them together, please check out the NYSED website to see them that way. But let's look through the standards. The first sub-concept area of impacts of computing is society. The first standard is to compare and contrast the trade-offs associated with computing technologies that affect individuals and societies. So here we're thinking about free speech, communication, automation. You can have your students research technology and how it is impacting different societies. You can talk about the difference between mailing a letter or having sending an email, something along those lines. After each of the standards, you're going to see some examples of how these standards could look like in action. They may include the ones from the state, or they may include a resource or website or app or something along those lines that can support your rollout of these in the classroom. The next standard within society is the sub-concept area number 2. So this is society impacts of computing 2. Evaluate the impact of laws or regulations on the development and use of computing technologies and digital information. Here we're thinking about the consequences of our laws, making sure that they're doing what we need them to be to cover our data and our information. This is definitely something students could do a compare and contrast activity. They could look at the way we govern how they use technology. This could be thinking about Creative Commons and copyright and those type of things as far as property rights. Now we're going to shift over into ethics. For ethics, the first standard here is identify and discuss issues of ethics surrounding computing technologies and current events. Here is a great opportunity for you to take a look at what's happening in society. So it could be talking about ChatGPT or different artificial intelligence type of activities. Back in the 90s, Napster was a big one that we talked about. You can talk about the use of technology like Spotify versus Apple Music and streaming services and that sort of thing. The next one under ethics is thinking about identifying and discussing issues related to the collection and use of private and public data. So, here we're thinking about how our data is collected and what it's used for. We could talk about how we post things on social media, what's private, what's public, that sort of thing. As we continue on in ethics, we're going to analyze potential sources of bias that could be introduced to complex computer systems and the potential impact these biases have on individuals. For example, there are some languages that don't have gender titles, like the he/she type of pronouns within their own languages. But when you use software such as Google Translate, it often assigns gender based on the information, and there can be some bias built into that. So we want to have those conversations. It could be something as simple as starting with, our common things that we think about with bias, like maybe girls don't like math or boys don't take dance, and so on, when we know that's certainly not true. For accessibility, we're talking about the ability to assess the accessibility of computing device or software application in terms of user needs. Here, we're thinking about different technologies. So, bring in a video game system. Who could use it? Who couldn't use it? Think about the fact that sometimes we shut off the lights to help with glare on our screens. We could talk about the accessibility features on our computers to really cover this standard. And then finally, you want to make sure that you're exploring those career paths as that last standard here. Really, you can have your students research technology, creators, inventors, STEM careers, anything that might be of interest to them. So take a moment and look through these different activities. Think about how these might fit into your classroom as you think about this rollout.